That was very nice. I'm not so sure that I saved Derek's life. I think Derek and everyone who bought all the products during COVID saved my life and made me a very rich man, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Derek. There we go. Okay. I want to try this just because, let's try this. So there's 4 words on the screen, and I'm going to point to them, and I want everyone to say them in unison. Ready? I cannot believe that worked. Okay. I started StockX with a guy named Dan Gilbert. Dan is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Quicken Loans and pretty much the entire city of Detroit. And I started working with Dan in June of 2015. In August of 2015, Dan took me and about 15 other people with him to Baltimore to visit with Kevin Plank and everything they were doing there. In August of 2015, Under Armour was at its all-time peak of existence. I mean, people thought that Under Armour was going to overpass Nike, which obviously is fairly comical at this point. But that's what was going on at this time. Now, the way that this day worked, excuse me, I got an extremely sore throat. The way that this day worked was the first half of the day, Kevin Plank and everyone gave us a tour of what was going on, what they were doing. The second half of the day, we were in a very, very large conference room where Dan and all the people that he was with were going to present to everyone in the room what we were working on. So we get in this room, and there's a buffet line set up for lunch, and everybody gets their food. And there are no assigned seats. And then everybody organically starts sitting down, and Kevin Plank ends up sitting at the head of the table. The 4 other billionaires in the room, or 3 other billionaires in the room at the time, all sat around him. Dan, Tom Kartosis, who's the founder of Shinola and Fossil, and Ted Leontis, who's the founder of AOL, the owner of Washington Wizards and Capitals. And just to be clear, this is about what everyone's net worth was in 2015, and I ended up sitting right here. I was just carrying my turkey sandwich, and all of a sudden, they're like, that's the open seat. And so now I'm sitting down here. There's 30 other people in the room. By the way, this was my net worth at the time. Actually, that's not true. It's more like this. I buy a lot of sneakers, right? Okay, so there were 45 minutes on the schedule for me to pitch to everybody in the room what we were working on at StockX. Now, StockX would not launch until February of 2016, 8 months later. So StockX was vaporware at the time. It was an idea. We had just started working on it. But we were coming off of the first Cavs-Warriors finals. The Warriors won. Steph Curry wins his first MVP. And Under Armour, which had Steph Curry, had made a shoe called the Under Armour Curry 1 MVP. This was Steph Curry's signature shoe. And they made a rare version. It cost $120, and they only made 500 pairs of this particular shoe for Steph Curry. Now, as a way to explain what was going on in the resale sneaker market, as a way to then explain what we were working on at StockX, we created a chart about this shoe. This shoe had come out 2 months before this meeting. Right? The chart was similar to this, and we explained to Kevin Plank and everyone else, this shoe is very limited. As a result, it's selling for over $500 on eBay. And by the way, this was meant to be the intro, and then me go on and talk about StockX. Well, I put this chart up, and Kevin Plank literally stands up and screams, I knew we should have made more. And I was just involuntary. I was like, no. It physically shocked me that the CEO of a major sneaker company didn't understand why this was a good thing. So then I had to go on and explain to Kevin and everyone in the room that this is a great thing. This is basically the first cool Under Armour shoe ever. I didn't have this slide. I made this slide for you guys. I'm talking. So this is basically the first cool Under Armour shoe ever. It's reselling like Jordans, and as a result, other Curry 1s are now all going up in value because of this. This sparks a fantastic conversation. Kevin, everybody's engaged, but we're getting way off track, and I'm supposed to be talking about StockX. So Dan finally pulls everyone back together and says, hold on, we're supposed to be talking about StockX. This is going to be an $8 billion company in 2021 when all valuations go fucking crazy. And so we pull it back all together. So I eventually talk about StockX, and Kevin says, well, I want to invest. And Dan says, you can't invest. It would be a conflict of interest to have a major sneaker company as an investor in a resale sneaker market. And Kevin's like, well, damn. Ted says, well, I want to invest. And Dan says, okay. And I said, hold on, is this really how billionaires invest in each other's companies? And Dan's like, yeah. And Ted's like, yeah. And Tom's like, who let this thousandaire sit at our end of the table? And Ted says, it's okay. He seems like a nice guy and knows a lot about sneakers. And that is the true story of how I became friends with Ted Leonsis. Thank you. No, thank you. That's not the end of the story. Back to this part. I knew we should have made more. What? Under Armour, at its absolute peak of existence, but 4.5 years later, in a much different place on its way down. New York Times writes an article in January of 2020, how Under Armour lost its edge. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from this article. And this is not recontextualized in any way. This is the actual text. The first Curry shoe had sold out immediately, and Aaron Miller, Under Armour Director of Footwear, who was in the room that day with Kevin and Dan and I, wanted to double the number of Curry 2 shoes produced. That quantity he believed would also sell out, increasing demand for the next model, the Curry 3. But top executives, he recalled, requested 3 times the number of shoes he recommended, so 6x the Curry 1, even as he argued that could cause a glut. The executives won, and Curry 2 shoes eventually flooded the market, winding up on sale racks. So what am I saying? Am I saying that if Kevin Plank had listened to me that day, they'd be ahead of Nike? You can say that. No, I want to ask the question, how many Curry 2s should Under Armour have made? The answer is it's an impossible question. It's wrong no matter what the answer is, because if you make too few, you leave money on the table. If you make too many, brands wind up on sale racks, and it's not cool. It shouldn't be this hard, though. But this is the problem that every consumer goods company, particularly all within the hype economy, they all deal with. This is Econ 101 at its most basic. It's just supply and demand. So why is it so hard? Well, in the real world, with physical goods, with widgets that have to be manufactured, right? Supply has to be decided in advance. For sneakers, sometimes it can be as much as 18 months in advance. They have to decide how many they're going to make. And demand, well, demand is unknown. You can't possibly know how many people will buy something when you make that decision. We're putting aside things like pre-orders or print on demand. This is just straight up and down e-commerce for widgets, right? It's hard. But price actually can change. Price is just a number on a website. You could change that the moment before it goes on sale. In fact, you could change it while it's for sale. You could have variable pricing. But almost nobody uses variable pricing. The best example we have is Uber surge pricing, airline ticketing, but this happens algorithmically behind the scenes. But these are very efficient markets. Let's look at why. Uber, supply is fixed. At any given time, does not matter how many, but at any given time, there's a fixed number of cars that are on the road available to serve. And demand is an input. How many riders want to buy a ride at that exact moment in time? And as a result, price is an output. Right? Price and output. This is an efficient market. Let's compare that to sneakers. Price and output. In sneakers, price is fixed. Curry 1s cost $120. That's what they cost. Supply is a guess. 18 months ago, and demand is a hope and a dream that in 18 months, exactly this number of people will buy 100% of these shoes at this exact moment. It's crazy. So when we all say everything is priced wrong, what we're really talking about is here. Everything here is priced wrong, by definition. This isn't an opinion, it's factual. It has to be priced wrong. They're all priced wrong. This stuff is all priced right. This stuff uses market-based pricing. You take supply and demand as inputs and price as an output. By the way, which business model would you rather use? One that uses inputs and outputs or uses guesses and hopes, right? This is the right way to buy and sell these products. The problem is, how do you translate to the physical world where you have widgets that you have to manufacture and then sell? Well, we spent years talking to economists and professors and trying to figure out the right way. And we think the answer is something called a blind Dutch auction. Now, I'm going to explain how this works, but I've been working on this for a decade now. We did a number of these at StockX. We called them IPOs, or initial product offerings. We did some with Adidas and New Balance. At Fanatics Collectibles, we sold some trading cards this way. And after the first couple that we did at StockX, Harvard Business School reached out and actually said, we think this is an ingenious way to sell stuff, and ended up doing a case study that's in HBR about this model. So it's right, like the economics are right. How does it work in practice? This is my new company. It's called Ghostwrite. It's a collectible toy company. Doesn't actually launch until August, but we've done a couple friends and family releases, and everything has been sold using a blind Dutch auction. So I'm going to show you all the real data from a release that happened last week. There were 20 ghosts available for sale. That is fixed supply. Does not matter how many, it is fixed supply and it's transparent. We tell everybody how many units are available for sale. Okay. Next, we take in bids. We take in blind bids, which means that no one can see what anyone else is bidding. You don't have to beat someone else. There's no time constraint. For 3 days, anytime you want, come to the ghostwrite website, put your credit card in, how much you're willing to pay for a ghost. That is demand as an input. Demand as an input. So then we take all the bids in, and these are the real results. All right? Top bid was 2501, 1768, and all the way down. So then what happens next? Well, the way that these are priced to the consumers is the lowest winning bid, or in this case, the 20th highest bid, becomes what's called the clearing price. And everybody pays the clearing price. Even the person that bid 2501, everyone pays $356. By the way, we didn't make any of this up. Everything we did at StockX, everything we're doing here, all we've done is just taken efficient markets, efficient processes from different parts of finance and apply it to consumer goods. But using the clearing price here does 3 things, all in the interest of fairness. 1, the top 20 bidders win. They're the people willing to pay the most. It makes sense that they're the ones who are allowed to buy the product. 2, they're all buying the same asset at the exact same moment in time. So it makes sense that they pay the same price. But 3, no one can argue that $356 isn't a fair market price for this because everyone was willing to pay at least $356. But here's the real thing. This is a true win-win-win across every single actor in the ecosystem. For the customers, 95% of the people get to buy the product for less than what they were willing to pay. For the brand, for ghostwrite, there is no guess, hope, risk. No, how many should we make? What should we price it at? This is the efficient market kicking in. And perhaps the most important part is that the market maintains hype. It maintains collectability and resaleability and all the things that drive these brands from a marketing standpoint. Here's how that part works. These are the bids that came in. This is demand as an input. If you know that over a 3-day period, these are the people that have bid for this product, well, this can only be a sample set of the world at large. Obviously, you can't have the entire world bid at that moment. But that means that there's some percentage of the people that are willing to pay more than $356 for this product. So once the IPO happens, once everyone takes possession of the product and pays, $356 is the retail price. But now everybody owns this and they're free to do whatever they want. The market kicks in. They can resell it if they want. And some percentage of the people are willing to pay more. So if this product is resold, the resale price will be somewhere in here. It'll always be greater than the clearing price, but less than the highest bid. By definition, every single IPO we did at StockX and Fanatics Collectibles, they all work out this way. So there's literally day trading built into the model that the customers can always make money. I mean, this is like true commodities trading. And yes, this is the best picture I could find for commodities trading. All right? But this is an efficient market. These are efficient markets. And they all use market-based pricing. Supply and demand is input, price is an output. This is an inefficient market. These are all inefficient markets, the entire hype economy. But we know how to fix it. It's economics. We know how to fix it. It's market-based pricing. That's the answer. That's what I've been working on. That's what ghostwrite will be about. We will sell everything using blind Dutch auctions and market-based pricing. And look, I mean, if you weren't expecting an economics lecture, if you wanted me to talk about the $20,000 sneakers I'm wearing, well, then you can just remember that Ted Leonsis is my friend. So thank you.